Welcome back to another edition of Racing World. Well, we've got a couple of things to get through this week. Obviously Formula One in Japan and IndyCar at Barber in Alabama. Let's start with IndyCar. It's going to be the focus of this show, then we'll round out this edition of Racing World talking F1. So, before we got going at Alabama, a few things that came out of the rulebook during the week. First one, Ed Carpenter officially in for the 110th running of the Indy 500. This was a no-brainer really. We always knew it was coming, but the car was unveiled in Indianapolis in its colour scheme and everything for the 500. Great to see the cars back in that aero configuration as well. Really like that. If you've never seen them in the flesh, they just look like rocket ships when they're like that, with the small rear wing, small front wing, just really classy. So great to see Ed back. He's been on pole quite a few times, hasn't won the 500. Hometown favourite always, absolutely no doubt about it. Be great to see him have a successful 500. Three cars in there, obviously, with Rasmussen and Alexander Rossi as well. But Ed, yeah, there's a sentimental spot in there somewhere for Ed, so fingers crossed for him. Second up from Ed Carpenter Racing, which came out the weekend of the Barber race, was the fact that they've signed a reserve driver for the rest of the season and moving forward as well. That reserve driver role takes care of sim work, all sorts of bits and pieces, obviously in with the debriefing sessions, moving forward on how the team goes, and is there in case one of those drivers has an injury issue or anything like that. That reserve driver, none other than Kiwi Hunter McElrea. Cannot say how happy I am for the entire McElrea clan, as I'll call them, to have Hunter there. He has worked so hard for this, and now it's finally coming together. Don't forget, he won the LMP2 class along with his teammates at Sebring just a couple of weeks ago, and here he is now, still carrying on with United Autosport in the LMP2 cars for the rest of the year, but now in this reserve driver role, and I just think that that's fantastic. He did that one race for Dale Coyne Racing in Toronto a couple of years back, tested with Ed Carpenter Racing at Sebring a few weeks back as well, but now confirmed role. Hunter McElrea, you're now officially kind of an IndyCar driver. Well, you are, you're just a reserve one, but the time is coming, buddy, and this is well worth it. So for people who don't know much about Hunter, great pedigree, went through the entire Road to Indy series, came out of that, did a couple of years with Andretti in Indy Next, as it was before, well, Indy Lights and then Indy Next, and always showed great promise before moving to the sports cars. So this will be really good, great career step for him, and I'm sure we're going to actually see him take to the track before too long. Things really starting to ramp up, I guess, around IndyCar at the moment. You know, this is another race this weekend, and then we've got a week or so off, then Long Beach, then the Indy Grand Prix, then the 500 itself. And this season is just going in the blink of an eye, but there is a lot going on. We still don't actually have 33 cars for this year's 500. I think they will come. There are enough sort of rumours and things floating around about what could or couldn't happen. But if you're getting into the game now, you're a little bit behind the eight ball, particularly when it comes to body fit. And body fit is so important around that track. You know, you're looking for the sleekest possible car, particularly in qualifying. And as Will Power said a few weeks ago to us, you know, you can have a slow car and still race well, but you won't qualify well. And we've seen that trend even in the normal races at the moment. So, you know, let's wait and see. I'm confident that we'll get 33, but I'd really like 34, because I know it's sad for someone to go home, but it creates what we all know about the Indy 500, and the drama is phenomenal. Not a pleasant place for the driver, but, you know, it's part of the sport, dare I say it. Moving on to Barber, well, fantastic track, as we've talked about many times on this podcast show. Really love that track, was lucky enough to go there a few years back now. Just fantastic. The person to watch around here that we caught up with after practice on the Friday was Christian Lundgaard. I'm putting him now as the man to watch inside the McLaren team. Slightly ahead of Pato. Pato's playing a good game. Nolan Siegel has his own issues, which we've spoken about quite a few times. But to me right now, Lundgaard is the form guy of the three of them in the McLaren team. So it was very interesting to be able to hear from him.
I mean, I've had some good results. Also had some less good ones, but I think it's trending in the right direction, looking at the last couple of years. So it's nice to, you know, obviously start the weekends kind of good off the trucks, but I didn't really think that pace was in the car throughout our entire primary run. So pretty positively surprised, I would say.
Then for this event, there is a lot of drivers that are on that point of destroying a season or having a good season. It's a bit of a make or break. This is the first permanent road course we've been on this year, and as Will Power said to us the other day, he was very interested to see how Andretti would go on that, and you'll hear from Will in a second. But the drivers that I felt that we needed to focus on in this particular round were Dixon, Schumacher. There's quite a long list of drivers that should be better than where they are. Rosenquist even, they all had big things to prove at this event. Whether they were to come true or not, well, we'll know because we know what happened in the race. But this was a very important round, very important for Andretti Autosport, important for Will Power. So again, it was great to talk to him after practice and see where he felt things were sitting.
I think we found some good stuff today. It will be, we all ran different stuff, so it was quite a test. And so we've got to kind of pick and choose what is good from those pieces from each car. Yeah, it's a very tight qualifying session around this track because everyone's been here for so many years. It's a short track, and as you can see, the times are stacked. So a 10th moves you a lot of spots. So it's definitely important to execute well for us.
Then for those of you who watched last week's show, there was a bit of comedy there with Will turning up to a media event that I was across to preview the event at Alabama, and he ran out of fuel on his way home, and his wife Liz managed to get some screenshots of him filling the car up only meters away from the gas station. So naturally the question came up at the press conference after practice as well was, has he had any more fuel issues? Typical Will, there's always a bit of humour and there's always an answer.
I had a couple of fuel issues. I sent my neighbour, an old guy, he actually used to work for Penske as a fabricator, and I was at the kart track building a go-kart, to run the next day, and I said, can you go get some distilled water for the radiator? And he took off. It was taking forever. I'm like, where is this guy? He came back. Did you check the fuel light before you came? And he ran out of gas in my car. He took my car because I picked him up in the middle of the intersection. So when I ran out of gas in my wife's car, I was like, called him and said, I just ran out of gas. He was mad though because he was like, people were beeping and he didn't have his phone. He left it at the kart track with me. It's funny knowing the guy because Mike is, just standing on the side of the road. He said I had the cap out and I was just going like this, and eventually someone stopped and got him the gas. I shouldn't laugh. He was mad. He won't let me live that one down. But so yeah, it was two in a row. It's pretty interesting.
Well, as we say, there's never a dull moment with Will Power, that's for sure. But that's one of the reasons you like the guy. He speaks from the heart, and then he has little stories like that just keeps the balance right. You don't see that type of conversation necessarily being had with Formula One drivers. So it's great when you get an IndyCar driver that can speak like that and talk about things like that, because it just proves these guys are just real guys doing a job. They race cars for a living, they go home and they've got family and all of those sorts of things, including having to fill up the car. Anyway, what came out of the rest of the practice over the weekend was obviously McLaughlin's shunt, where he went through the bottom of the fencing at turn 1 at Barber. Very high-speed accident, but went through backwards. And I think in many ways that helped the whole situation out, because you've got the attenuator at the back of the car designed for, hitting the wall on the ovals and things like that. And I think that may have softened the blow. What it did mean, however, for McLaughlin is after being very quick in first practice and then having that happen, is there was a mad rush to get the car ready for qualifying, and it was the spare car from Phoenix as well. So this is not the first time the Penske boys have had to do this. They did it for Joseph Newgarden at Arlington, and now it was McLaughlin's turn. But it spoiled what was a very good weekend, and McLaughlin has always been good around this track. He's won there before, but that's the name of the game. It was onwards then to qualifying. It was a short turnaround for Penske, but they got the car there. Things that came out of qualifying is it went downhill for Will Power. No brakes going into the Charlotte's Web corner. Boy, that's a mouthful. A very high-speed corner, high commitment, and Will went straight through into the fence there. No rear brakes on that car at all. He's been plagued by brake issues all season of various descriptions. This one was clearly a failure. But what it meant for Will is all that effort and all that promise that he was showing and the upbeat nature put him dead last in the grid for the race on Sunday afternoon. So that was a real shame. Person that came up in the front row, of course, was the new boy at Penske driving the old Will power car, the old number 12. Still think of Will when we see that. And that was David Malukas, and he was very upbeat at the press conference.
I mean, we'll see how the race plays out. I mean, this track is tough to pass. I mean, there's only a few spots, so we'll see how the first lap plays out. If the opportunity's there, we'll go for it. If it's not, then we kind of need to settle in. It's a bit of a game. You don't want to be pushing so hard and you kill your tires and now kind of ruin the rest of your race just for one position. So we'll see how it plays out.
Then onwards to the pole sitter. Not much you can say about Alex Palou. Is he on a roll this season? It's starting to come back that way. Kyle Kirkwood's obviously given him a hard time, but we're starting to see a slightly different championship than what we saw last year. But Palou certainly owned qualifying. There was no doubt about that. Very strong around this track. He dominated there last year, and it had all the hallmarks of what was to become another dominant performance from Palou. There's a lot going on. Tyre balance was very critical, but at the end, Alex took out pole position for the race at Alabama.
Yeah, very happy. Obviously, I was very happy with the car this morning in practice too, compared to yesterday. I feel like yesterday we were missing a little bit of balance, so conditions today helped us a ton. And then it was a very close qualifying. We just wanted to make sure that once we're in Fast 6, although we know we're not going to have 2 sets of brand new alternates, to try and get for pole, and we did. So yeah, happy. Hopefully future Alex is going to figure it out how to battle against new alternates. But yeah, that's an issue for tomorrow.
Then for Palou, this was pole position number 13. So the question that came up in the press conference was, like anything, are you superstitious? 13 is one of those numbers that we always get freaked out about. Black Friday, all of that sort of carry on. So for Palou, was there any superstition? Does he have any superstitions? And how did he feel about superstition?
I just try and stay away, because I know I can get very superstitious. But I stay away. I just don't. I lock myself. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of superstition. I could get superstitious about this cup or these glasses, or yeah. Anyway, I changed the glasses. I've been with the same sunglasses for 5 years, and I changed them this year, so that was a bit of a change.
It sounds like another news conference.
I didn't know if it was sunglasses, so then suddenly I changed my sunglasses. I did change a lot of stuff just because I thought it was time.
Well, onwards to the race, and what can we take out of the race? Every single car finished for a start. That's one thing. So actually that's more than what you get in Formula 1 these days, isn't it? But every single car finished. Disappointments in the race. Clearly Schumacher was a disappointment. I expected much better from him. This was a track that should have suited him. More European style, if you like, being a permanent road course. Didn't really ever get in the game that much, which was strange because Graham Rahal in the sister car was way up at the back end of the field, while Louis Foster and Mick Schumacher were at the bottom end of the field. So that was a disappointment. Nolan Siegel, another sort of average race, so we've got to watch that out. Rosenquist, very poor performance there again. Dixon, poor qualifying, was able to salvage it in the race, but we're seeing this trend again. Dixon has car pace on a Sunday afternoon. There is absolutely no doubt about this. But when you qualify midfield, you've got to deal with all those other people around you, and that's not always the easiest way to get to the front. Meanwhile, Alex is out there driving in clear air, getting on with the game, and you're hustling it with all these other people. So good performance from Dixon to salvage that, but the thing that we've got to remember is so far this season, out of the 4 rounds, Dixon has failed to make the top 6 for the Fast 6 at all. He has not made a Fast 6 performance or turnout yet this season, and that is very un-Dixon-like. I don't know whether that's structurally within the number 9 team that's happening. We didn't see a great performance from Simpson at this race either, but Palou, again, masterclass. The 10 teams certainly have everything together that they need. We need to see some of that transform into the 9 car. Looking ahead to Long Beach, maybe that'll be better for Dixon. We certainly need to see that. It is pretty well a Honda track, so time will tell. But, Dixon finished inside the top 10. He's about 70 odd points behind the leader now in the championship, which is more than 1 race win. So you cannot let this gap get too big. So that was probably another one of my disappointments. McLaughlin and Power did good jobs to salvage where they respectively started in the race, to finish where they did. So yeah, good effort by them. Christian Lundgaard did a fantastic job. Again, I'm putting him as the McLaren man to beat. They had an issue in the pit lane with a rear tyre going on near the end of the race, dropped him to third behind Graham Rahal, got back behind Rahal to take second place, and I think that was a fine performance from Lundgaard. And whilst he wasn't overly happy, it's still he said good things at the press conference.
We had a race-winning car today, and obviously it's frustrating. The past many few races, we've produced such great race cars on Sunday, and we've been lacking on Saturday, and it's just frustrating. Obviously, you win races on Sunday, so that's when you need to have a good car, but I think we need to put ourselves in better positions. I think even with the pace and how the race panned out today, we had the car to win the race, we had the pace, we had the track position at the time. I'm not really sure what happened in the pit stop, so I'm not sure I can really comment too much on it. But again, it's unfortunate. Obviously came out behind Graham there on the last stint and just wanted to really get that second place for the team as well. It wasn't just for me, this is where we were, at least, with a bubble on pit row, let's get the same result, not worse. We had the pace and got by Graham, so that was nice.
Then onwards to Graham Rahal. A third place performance was good. It was one of the better podium performances we've seen from Graham in a very long time, so that was good. He made note of the fact that he's obviously a heavier driver than what both Mick Schumacher and Louis Foster are, and they wondered, because of the balance that they had in the cars, they were running identical setups, whether even just his weight made that much of a difference. We do know that this was hard on tyres. This is a very, very, very physical track to drive. There's no soft parts of the circuit to recover from either, and a lot of very high commitment corners. But Graham did a great job, and it was good to actually get him into the press conference and just hear how he felt his weekend went.
I think I could have held Christian off. His strength was my weakness. Everywhere else, we could pull him a little bit, but I was dying in turn 2 and 3, and that was the best part of the track that he had. And unfortunately, those two just didn't blend very well. So we did the best that we can, and that's life. So he was obviously on a charge, and and we had done a few more laps than him on those tires, so I knew it was going to be a battle to the end. But that's the way it goes. Early in the race, I was feeling really good. The first stint, I felt in total control. The car was good, balance was good, the rear tire wear was good. We were catching Palou. I was thinking, I had big hopes at that point. But in the end, things happened. The boys did a wonderful job in the pits. My last outlap wasn't very good. I couldn't get the rears to come in on the last set of tires. I was just really struggling with the rear of the car for 5 or 6 laps, and I just couldn't gain the gap that I needed to, and so that kind of killed my enthusiasm fairly quick. But overall, obviously I'm not displeased with the day.
Then the other thing with Graham, and there's a lot of knockers out there for the Rahal team, there have been for quite some time. Some of it is just, some of it isn't. And they've had their ups and downs, notably at Indy for the last few years. Total reorganisation within that team right now, and you're starting to see some benefits of that, and we've seen that quite clearly. We're just going to get all 3 cars up there. But Graham is never short to speak his mind on things, and he certainly reminded everyone of the fact that they are performing, and he doesn't really give a toss, actually, about what people think, and that's fair enough.
I don't have to say a whole lot. There's enough bullshit out there that I got to deal with. It's nice. It's nice. I'll still hear it. It's funny, you read Twitter every day, oh, he can't qualify. It's bro, I qualified in the second row last week. Just shut up. But people... There's a whole lot of dumbasses out there in this world now, so you get to live with it all the time. Pardon my French.
So just before we get to hear from race winner Alex Palou, we just got to look at the rest of these results. I think it was a good performance from Malukas, finishing 4th, Kirkwood in 5th, Marcus Armstrong up there in 6th, Dixon, of course, as we've mentioned, in 7th. Great performance from Santino Ferrucci to bring a Foyt car home in 8th. Ericsson, probably not where he wanted to be, and Newgarden rounding out the top 10. You've got to consider where Will Power put himself. Rosenquist trying to get there, but not really where we expected them to be. And then when you look at the rest of the field, Grosjean showed so much potential early on, didn't really deliver. Then the pair of McLarens in 17th and 18th, not where they should have been. And then it sort of filters through the rest of the field. But overall, there were a few people, as I've said, not really where you would have thought they would have been. But then there was one person who we kind of almost expected to be there, and that was the race winner, Alex Palou. He openly admitted that it wasn't as easy as what it looked. Tyre strategy played a big part in the whole thing. The choice of whether you'd had sticker reds or used reds, and the same even with the harder compound tyre. Julian Robinson, longtime engineer at the Ganassi squad, turned up at the press conference as well with Alex. And once again, it was nice to see some humour in here. Alex just kind of priming Julian for his first press conference performance, shall we say. But it was really good to see the fact that drivers can talk like this. And I think that you'll find this pretty interesting.
Don't say too much. So this is...
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So you need to kind of talk, but don't say exactly. He just always says the truth.
Yeah.
And it's good to, I mean, I don't lie. I'm not lying when I talk to you guys, but I hide a couple of stuff here and there. So I don't want Julian to now tell you the springs we run, where did we struggle too much or not, but yes.
So Julian, what springs were you guys running again?
Always great, I think, to have a bit of humour, and the teams now obviously have a week or so off before the long trip across to the west coast of America and the historic Long Beach Grand Prix. Great facility, great race, so much entertainment going on there, so many support categories as well. INSMA there with a race, Formula Drift's always there, monster trucks are there, great food trucks for food, just everything, great Southern Californian hospitality. So that's going to be a great event. But if we look at this championship table, it is starting to shape itself out now, and there's some very, very interesting things that are going on in the championship, that's for sure. So Kirkwood holds on to that first place in the championship but you'd have to think that he's looking pretty good going into Long Beach, winner there previously, so that's going to make things interesting between him and Palou. But Palou certainly not quite as dominant so far, but don't forget we're only 4 races in. Christian Lundgaard, as I said, I think he's the McLaren man to beat, and he's holding on to a good third place in this championship. A pair of Penske cars behind them, then Pato, then the other Penske of McLaughlin in 7th place. Dixon now squeezing into the top 10 in the championship. But as I've said, he is now more than a race win away from even getting to the top of the table. So you cannot continue to have performances like this. We know that Scott Dixon's better than this. The tide has to change soon. So we'll be looking, I think, very forward to seeing that tide change, that's for sure. So only time will tell. Onwards now to the Japanese Grand Prix. Now, I've got quite a bit to say on this. Not the Grand Prix that I thought it would be. Yes, we're seeing passing action, but it's artificial in many cases. And it's the first time that I felt disappointed about this year's regulations out of the 3 Grand Prix that we've had this year. I had a viewer write into me today. He went into great detail about what he thought about what was going on in Formula One and the fact that you have cars effectively braking on straights now to reharvest energy, and that is not racing. I agree totally with that viewer. Mike, great call on that. You summed it up very well. Great to get your comments and feedback on the show as well, but really, really good points. This is not racing, and we saw that, and a highlighted example of this was the Ollie Bierman accident where he came upon quite a slow Colapinto, and suddenly he's in the fence, and he was lucky to get away with very minor bruising and stuff, because it could have been a heck of a lot worse. And we saw these artificial passes between 3rd, 4th, 5th during the race, and I don't really think where and how people drove is where they justifiably should have finished. Kimi Antonelli, of course, won the race, his 2nd race on the trot, 2nd pole position as well. The thing that I like about that is it's put the squeeze on George Russell a little bit inside the Mercedes team, and that's great because you've got some inter-team battles going on, and I think that that's a very good thing because then we see which driver really is the best. Toto's got to be pleased with his choice of Antonelli right now. Ferrari definitely down on power. They're getting nailed in a straight line over the Mercedes, but we saw a resurgence from both the McLarens as well. So that's where it's happening. And then the Alpine cars are in there, and again, they're powered by Mercedes. We now sit it out for over a month now until the teams regroup in Miami. There's a lot of work that's going to be done, and it'll be very interesting to see what the balance of power is like when these cars hit Miami. Again, totally different circuit to where we've just come from, so it's going to be very hard to tell initially. But you know, we've just got to see some of these things iron themselves out. And I know that there's an FIA meeting to discuss some of this. So again, be very interesting to see how it plays out. Anyway, guys, that's another edition of Racing World. Won't keep you too long now. Thanks so much once again for sharing, liking and subscribing. Really trying hard to get just a few more people behind the show and make it just that much more special for you. And as I've said, Indy 500 coming up. We're going to be there every single day we can. Daily reports there, so there'll be a feast of content coming your way soon. Really look forward to presenting that to you as well. Until next week, however, on Racing World, take care out there. Stay safe. Hope the fuel prices don't go up any further, and we'll see you again soon on Racing World.